My name's Mair, and I would like to introduce myself as a kidney patient. I've been on quite a journey, which hasn't been very long, but it's been very interesting. And along with Mel, who's here as well, as you can see, who was my home dialysis nurse, we thought we'd just take you along the journey that we went on to give you a bit of an idea of what's involved with the kidney journey. And in particular, I think, Mel, it's going to be home dialysis, isn't it?
Yes.
I think that's the part that Mel and I have been involved with as a team. And I think that's the side of it, the process we'd like to give you a few more details about and a bit of a insight into. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Melanie. I'm a home therapies nurse at Betsy Cadwallader, Glenclwyd. Mair has had an interesting journey with her kidney treatment.
Yeah, it hasn't been a very long one. I started with my illness back in 2019, so it's quite short, and I was originally diagnosed with multiple myeloma cancer, which as a result of it affected my kidneys to a big degree. As a result of that, I was obviously referred to the renal unit, and while I was at the renal unit, I had dialysis there. I then went home and I was having dialysis at the unit while I was an outpatient. And it was then I came across Mel, who started talking to me about home dialysis, wasn't it, Mel?
That's right.
But at the time, I had the wrong impression that I couldn't have home dialysis while I still had a neckline. I don't know why, but somewhere along the line, I've picked it up that I had to have a fistula, which I didn't have. And I had a few attempts at which wasn't successful. So therefore, I really wasn't asking you about home dialysis, was I much?
No, you weren't ready to approach it then, but I tried to give you as much information as I could when we eventually had the chat, didn't we?
Yeah, Mel was very helpful, and I said, I'll get back to you when I'm more ready for it, to be honest with you. And so as it went on, I suddenly realised that a neckline was not a thing to hold me back, that I could actually go for home dialysis with a neckline. So I then approached Mel again, didn't I, Mel? And then you came in and gave me a few more details about it. And I thought, well, I'm really interested in this, to be honest with you. But what really helped, I think, for us, which sounds a bit daft, was that COVID came, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So obviously it was unfortunate with COVID, but we did go into lockdown, which helped with you with training with your husband, so you could work as a team, and I could train you as a couple, really. So for that support, yeah.
But I think because of COVID, it also became a bit more apparent that it would be, I don't mean safer, I don't know if that's the right word, but it would be better if I was at home. Less risk. Everything. I really needed to avoid it coming into an unnecessary environment, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Home dialysis would be really good for me. So I think you have some pre-ideas about home dialysis, and I know I'd heard some things when I was a day renal patient in the waiting room saying, oh, you don't want your home to become a hospital and you need lots of space.
Yeah.
But I think once I discussed this with Mel, it became apparent that these were the hurdles that could be got over with the help of Mel and the support of the whole team, really, as well.
That's the thing we're trying to avoid, is to make it look hospitalized. So we wanted to try and make it as homely still, even though equipment are coming into your home, but it's finding the storage, where to put them, so make it comfortable for you, because some people have it in different areas of the house, like the living room, some in the bedroom, and some have a spare room, and it's making it comfortable for that patient. And some people like in a spare room, they can close it off and you know, carry on with the rest of the house. Yeah.
But I've got to say that the support from you in particular, Mel, there was loads of support.
Yeah.
You did really help with my worries and reassured me. And you came to the house and you said, yeah, this is good, this is not. And I know we've cleared out a cupboard thinking
we did,
half of a cupboard thinking it would be okay. And then you kind of, well, very politely said that maybe we could do with a bit more space. Let's not put people off about that, because like you said at the time, I happened to have a cupboard in the spare room. But you were saying, you know, you could store all the stuff somewhere else, wasn't it?
You know, could,
it wasn't an issue, was it?
No, not at all. Not at all. So the first, like we discussed, and I'm prepared yourself, the first initial delivery is the overwhelming, because there is a lot with all the equipment and all the facilities and everything. It is overwhelming. And I think one of the things we do say is preparing you for that initial delivery. After that, it's just topping up. Doesn't seem as bad as you were aware.
No, it was fine. But you, again, in all fairness to you, bless, you said you would be there.
I'll be there. Yes.
You were there to help us get our head round what was needed, was going to be needed on a regular basis. So you'd have that available easily, wouldn't you? And then you could just need to top up every now and then.
That's right.
You went through all of that with us and made it straightforward. And again, actually, with the actual fitting of the appliances, because obviously you need somebody in to do your water, the plumbing side of it, and the electrical.
So it's all the organising in the background, but it all comes together. It all comes together.
It was, and that for us happened over COVID, and I've got to say they were amazing. The team were fantastic. They came, they surveyed the room where I wanted it. They said, "This is what we'll be doing. We can put this here. Where would you like the bed to go?" And they couldn't have been more helpful, to be honest with you, in all fairness. And I think the only funny thing about it was when they came with the delivery of the bed for me, lorry parked at the end of our road and brought it down the middle of our road on like a trolley thing. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is like and then they actually couldn't get that one up the stairs, but that was besides the point. It was rectified, and they soon came up with one that was really suitable. So I think in that sense, you do have worries about it.
Always, yes, of course. It's understandable.
But again, as I've said all along, you need to ask, don't you, Mel?
Absolutely. You know, even the first initial of asking about home dialysis, I think, is very important, because you are limited with information when you first start treatment. So ask the nurses on the unit to, point you in the right direction, the CKD girls, ask you in the direction of the home therapy team, even if you just have a chat and decide, it's for me or no, because it's not for everyone. But it's to furnish yourself with all the information, I think, is a good place to start. And which you did very well.
And I think you need to look at the positive sides of it, because in particular, there's the flexibility about home dialysis.
Definitely, yes.
For myself, luckily, I didn't have to travel far to the hospital when I was having it as an outpatient. But for some people, the travel is, and if you have
an hour, more,
so if you're doing that 3 or 4 times a week, that takes up, it takes up your day, really, doesn't it?
It does.
Whereas if you're having it at home, it's brilliant. It's there in your home, and you can just pop there. And I had a television, so I could just sit there and I'd have my lunch and everything. I didn't have that traveling time. And even after discussions with you, if I had something on a day, I could move my days, couldn't I, Mel?
That's right, yes.
Which was great as well. Obviously, I didn't just do it myself. I would speak to you first and say, does this fit in with my cycle? Will it be okay if I change my day? So all that just makes it so much of a bonus, really.
With the units, there's obviously the restrictions of changing shifts now, especially more so with COVID, because they're trying to keep you in a bubble. So swapping shifts, if you wanted to go away and things, is a bit more difficult at the moment. But with you being at home, you could swap your days and do a different day if you wanted to, a bit more flexible. change from a morning to afternoon, you know, to whatever suits you. So that you've got that bit more flexibility.
Definitely. I found really that was fantastic, because I think on one of the first occasions I wanted to go away or something, but it didn't matter. I could move it and fix it like that. So that was really good, actually. And
there's going to be worries about home dialysis, but speaking to your home therapies nurses, you know, we can overcome those problems. We'll think of solutions. We did a home therapy workshop, which was excellent, and it was that interaction between the patients of what their concerns was, and we came with solutions with with their concerns and how we would overcome it. So that was excellent as well. So talking to the home therapy nurses about your concerns, you know, look up solutions.
I think I got the feeling from you that really there aren't any barriers, are there? That the majority of things, 99% of issues, if you want to go home for home dialysis, I think the unit and the nurses and the team.
It has to be with your consultant agreement as well.
I was going to say, sorry, yeah.
So they do get involved, you know, because you're going to be under their care at home. So yes, so everyone's involved, the unit, the home therapy nurse, the consultants, and there's also, like you're aware, of other people like the dietitians and the psychologists as well, are very supportive.
Yeah, I can speak from personal experience with both of those fields. They're fantastic, actually, the support that they give you, and it's invaluable, because in my case now, I'm quite glad to say I'm not on dialysis at the moment, because I know that's really good, because I'm quite stable. But one of my issues is, as Mel will know, is my potassium intake. So initially you tend to think, oh, that's just bananas I have to avoid. But then the dietitian's input becomes invaluable, doesn't it? Because I've had loads of information from the dietitian, leaflets, recipes, everything, but also lists, I hate to say it, lists of items that you just, you shouldn't consider eating. And there's quite a lot involved with it. And I've got to say, sometimes it can be a pain, because I tend to say, like, what's a bacon butty without red or brown sauce? Because you can't have sauce, but you get around it. And I also feel it's a small price to pay, because I think as a result of sticking to a low potassium diet, I am feeling, it's keeping me off dialysis, but I'm also feeling better as well. I mean, I'm also taking a binder. I don't know if any of you people who are watching this might be aware of that. I'm on a binder which I take every other day, and I think that's really brilliant, because that keeps my potassium levels a lot lower as well. But it does need me to control my diet as well. I don't just rely on that, because I don't, that isn't the solution. The solution is, watch your diet, isn't it, Mel? And be aware. And I'm very much a believer in, it's not, don't have anything, don't say I can't eat that, I can't. Have small amounts, but as your dietitian will say, be aware of what you've had in the day, look at it and add it up. And sometimes I'm not a big coffee drinker, I might have had 2 a day, but some days I'll say, hang on, no, because I hate to say it, there's potassium in coffee. Hang on, no, let's just have 1 instead of the 2.
You're very fortunate. You're very fortunate, aren't you, Mair, that we've managed to get you to that position. But some people will, obviously, dialysis sometimes does come the last resort, that they will have to go on dialysis. Yeah,
and what I've got to say is, when I went on it, Mel, I was under the impression it was going to be for life. And I was doing 3 days a week at the time. So I was under that impression, and I've got to say, it did come as a big shock. It wasn't what I was expecting, because I had dialysis in hospital, came home and was just coming for regular checkups for my bloods and my neckline, wasn't I? And that all seemed, that all seemed to be going well. And then I came in one day just for a session of dialysis and was told, no, that's it now. You're going to be on dialysis, for indefinite.
How
And
did you feel with that, Mair?
I'll be honest, it was a big, big shock. I've got to say, it was like being hit by a train, because in my naivety, and I think it was naivety, I didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought I was doing okay.
Yes.
And it is a big life change, as anybody now out there watching this who is involved with this journey will be well aware. It's a lot of questions are going through your head. You're being bombarded by information, by fear, doubts, questions, everything. And you think of not only how it's going to affect me, my family, my friends. All of a sudden, your lifestyle has become governed and dictated by this life-saving process, because that's what it is. That's the whole thing about it. And you realize the importance of it, and you suddenly just think, how am I going to cope? What about this? For example, one of my first thoughts was, I was meant to be going away.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it was like, but hang on, it's a dialysis day. What do I do? And so it is a big shock. And I think the only thing I can say is just keep asking questions. Let people know how you're feeling.
That's right.
And let people know about your worries, because it's the unit, the nurses, whatever, the dietitians, yourself, Mel, who are the experts, who will put your mind at rest and who will explain to you, what the process is and how you will try so much to accommodate, won't you, Mel?
Yes, of course.
I know that for a fact. I mean, it's like when I first went into the renal unit, I was just shell-shocked, because I had no idea what a renal unit would be like. And I couldn't get over the fact that there was people there. I know this might sound daft to a lot of people, in clothes. People were coming in from outside
every day. Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that really struck me as being very strange. These people were coming in their everyday clothes, and it was a bit like checking into a gym. Well, it was, because a lot of people were regulars in that they would do their own weight.
That's right.
They would do their own blood pressure, wouldn't they, Mel? They were given these, responsibilities, taking charge of a lot of the process themselves. So they'd come in and do all this, and I was just sat there mesmerized by it all. And then there was people that would go in and link themselves up.
That's right. Some people relate to it as going to work, and that's how some people cope with it. As if saying, right, I'm going to work now. I've got a day off tomorrow. So that's how a lot of people cope with it.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that. And I did find this like mind-blowing, I've got to say, but you become used to it, and you realize the benefits of having dialysis, because you do feel so much better. At the time, I thought I was okay, but I've got to hold my hand up. I didn't like the idea. It's not something I wanted. I had no choice. And it did make me feel a lot better, I'll be honest with you. And you've got to look at it and think, I've got to do this. So let's make it as best an experience as I can.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the way I looked at it. So I would take a book. I was fortunate that I could take a tablet along with me. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was laptops available on the unit, wasn't there?
Yes, we did. We had tellies. We have telly for each station, haven't we? A television. And there was laptops that you could borrow. I'm not sure if they're still available now, but there was definitely at the time.
Yeah, because I think they were donated, weren't they, or something?
They were, yes.
Yeah. So even if you haven't got that sort of technology yourself, if you ask, it's possible that it might be available to you. So I think it's looking at trying to make that experience, and as you say, Mel, call it work if that's what you
that's right.
And then later on, as I progressed, I ended up going on what they call the night shift. Which, I wasn't aware of that initially. And there was a woman who would come on there that she'd been to work, and she'd finish work and she'd come and do a night shift on dialysis. So I got the feeling that a lot of people were living a sort of a normal life because they were working, weren't they, Mel? Am I right? There's a few, patients who can fit it all in.
Yes, around work.
Yeah. So, and then again, I think the other thing you need to call on without fail is your friends and family. I think
absolutely
without them, I think it's a very hard journey.
Yeah, you need the support. So definitely talk to your friends and family.
Yeah, it's their support's invaluable. Even if it's like, for example, I was helped with lifts, so I didn't need hospital transport, and that was invaluable because it meant I was only needing to be ready to come to the unit about half an hour before instead of waiting for hospital transport. But then again, that's there if you need it, isn't it? Hospital transport.
It's available, yes.
So I think if you turn to your friends and family, they can be very helpful indeed. And you don't realise until you're in a situation, do you, Mel?
Right. No, not at all.
How many people are out there who are willing and more than willing to help you out on the journey, to be honest with you.
And they're scared to talk about it as well sometimes, the family, friends and family, because they don't want to upset you by bringing it up. But, so sometimes approaching it with friends and family and having a chat just opens it up and lets you know how everyone feels about it. And you can put their mind at rest as well, what's happening in the unit, because they don't get to see what's happening as well. So having a chat, explaining what's going on, just puts their mind at rest as well, because they worry, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And as you say, it's hard to explain to people what the unit's like, to be honest with you. It's an experience all of its own, isn't it? Yeah. But I'd also say I kind of viewed the unit before COVID, when you could, mingle more, as a big family. I saw the unit as a family because, I think
they're an amazing team. They're such a good team. Yes,
they are such a good team, and they do look after you really well. I've got to say that, because when I was initially in the unit, I was really ill, and I mean really ill, in that I was just laying flat out on a bed, and that was all I could do. And I was very poorly, but they were so nice to me. They're so caring and thoughtful. So I really think you just don't hold back.
No
questions.
Yeah. So you just approached the doctor first. I'm talking about your story, Mair. You just approached the doctor thinking you had similar condition, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, I thought I had diabetes because I just had this awful thirst I couldn't quench, and I was just wanting to drink all the time, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night wanting to drink. So I just initially contacted the diabetes nurse at the surgery. I didn't see the point of going to the doctor. So I went and she did some blood tests, and then I got called back because one of the blood tests wasn't right. So obviously I went to my GP, and I've got to say I wasn't feeling well. I was feeling, and I've got to say, really ill. I just knew I was not well. So I went to the doctor. He kept taking blood tests. He thought at one stage it might have been something to do with my heart, and it wasn't. Kept taking blood tests again, and I just kept saying I'm not well. So then one of the blood tests came back with a question mark for this multimyeloma cancer. So he kind of advised me of that, and he said, I'm going to refer you to a specialist, which is what happened. And on the Thursday, I went for my specialist appointment, and the specialist advised me, yes, it looks from all the results we've got here that you've got multimyeloma, but we will look at doing some more tests just to confirm it, and we'll let you know. So had blood tests done on the Thursday. 2 of them came back while I was there. They were fine. She said, there's one more that we'll get back to you about. And that evening, just while I was sat watching the telly, I got a phone call from it would have been the doctor on call at the hospital, and just advising me that one of my blood tests, the result was really bad, and I could either go to my GP or actually come into the hospital. And I said, I just feel so ill, I've got to come into the hospital. And when I got in, it was the fact that my kidney function was really bad, and that's what this blood test was showing, of how bad my kidney had been affected by the cancer. So that's then when they started, and literally I was just in then, and they started with chemo. That's what they started with, and that was then at the same time I got to see the consultant from the renal unit. So he came to see me, and they tried to get my my kidneys working initially by just giving me lots of fluid.
That's right.
Yeah. Come on, Mel, sorry, we can say something.
No, I'm just thinking, fluid challenge, yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's called a fluid challenge. So it's trying to get the kidneys back working because they've gone to sleep, but yeah.
Yeah, because at the time I was intravenously having 3 litres of fluid, and then they were asking me to drink 3 litres of fluid a day. So yeah, it was a lot. Yeah. Unfortunately, my kidneys didn't wake up. So I then started on the journey of dialysis, actually. And that at the time I was in hospital, it wasn't really a regular thing. It was more, I think it was more dependent on my bloods.
That's right.
So they'd do my bloods and they'd say, no, you're okay. And then my bloods were done regularly. And then they'd say, no, I think you need dialysis. So it wasn't set in stone about dialysis at that stage. It did depend upon my blood results. So, and then I was really ill, lost a lot of the fluid. So the fluid didn't become an issue, I must admit. But my kidneys still weren't right where they Mel.
No.
So that's when I then went home from hospital and was having checks about dialysis. And that's when I then went on to dialysis on a regular way. So it's they did say, they used the term crash landing for me, actually.
Yes, that's it, acute dialysis at the time. But yeah, it went on to long term, didn't it, for you?
Yes.
So how long did you spend on dialysis, Mair, altogether? Was it a couple of years, 18 months?
Yeah, about 18 months it was. Maybe a bit longer, wasn't it? So, and to be honest with you, Mel, you didn't really come into my field of people in the unit for a while, did you?
Because no.
It was only when I'd been there a while that you kind of mentioned it, didn't you? About
that's right. I was coming around and seeing people and having a discussion about home dialysis.
Yeah, which you did. You were able to go around and speak to the patients and put their mind at rest, answer questions.
That's right.
And as I said, I was under the impression, because I had a neckline, it wasn't a route I could go down, and I'd had one fistula attempt and that had failed, hadn't it?
That's right. So I approached your consultant and I said, obviously with his agreement, that we agreed that you could try the neckline and go home with the neckline.
Yeah, and
worked out well.
But it worked out wonderful, I've got to say. And I've got to say, in all fairness, my husband was amazing, because
he was fantastic support. Yes.
Yeah, in all fairness to him, he was brilliant. He was more than willing to learn the process of linking me up and taking me off, because I've got issues with my hands, so I don't think I would have been able to do that myself anyhow. So he was brilliant. And again, I've got to sing the praises of the unit, because they allowed him to come in and train.
Right, yes.
Didn't they? Remember?
Yeah, because it was a difficult time with COVID as well. It was one of the things that we had to sort of try and isolate you away, and you having your husband in as well.
Yeah, so he'd come in at the beginning, he'd link me up and do the process, obviously with supervision and everything at the beginning, and then he would come at the end and take me off.
Was it about 5 months training on the unit, Mair?
It was approximately that, wasn't it, Mel?
Yeah.
And then Mel said, shall we go home?
Yeah, are you ready?
So I just said, I think we should go for it. But
I think your face and your expression was about, are you sure?
Yeah. I think you had more faith than me.
Oh, definitely. I could see you're going to be okay.
You put that confidence in me, and you said you would be there.
Absolutely.
And you were, weren't you? I've got to tell one story which was quite funny, because you would come on for my sessions at the beginning and you'd sit there and everything, and then you'd highlight things. And then one session you said to Rob, my husband, right, just be aware, I'll talk you through this because this might happen. Yeah. And I'm sat there, then lo and behold, what happens? But this
happened. Yeah, it was in a test. I know, it truly happens.
Call them alarms on the machine, but that noise, wasn't it? And you were saying, well, this is exactly what I was talking about.
Now we're going to do the real thing. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, we got through that, didn't we?
And it's just keeping calm. You know, you've been taught it in your training all along. So it's just keeping calm, thinking, right, what was I taught, you know, and going step by step, and you know, you'll be fine.
But you also said, and I knew that when I first was doing dialysis at home, as just one thing you need to bear in mind was you asked that we did it while the unit was open, which made sense, obviously. So we could ring, wasn't it? We were asked to do it within hours that the unit was open, which was great, because that was just reassuring for us that if there was something wrong, we could ring somebody. But then at the same time, in all fairness, you'd also shown Rob the process that if he wasn't happy and something was wrong, is how to quickly just disconnect me.
That's right. Yeah.
And then it would have been sorted, phone the unit and what have you. And I mean, I've got to say, initially, that noise of the machine, when it goes ping, you do think
the fear in you, doesn't it? But
it does, because it used to, when you're in the unit, you used to think, oh no, what's gone wrong now?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's something or nothing, is it? And it can all be sorted. And as I said, Mel, you were there. If we weren't happy, you'd come, you'd check it out for me, or you'd just stay. In fact, because you stayed, didn't you, for a lot of sessions? And
initially, just to make sure that everything was going fine.
And if I knew if you were there, it wouldn't be a problem. I think you need to be aware is to take one day at a time, isn't it, as well?
One day at a time, yes. And ask questions, and no question is silly, you know.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, so always ask whatever comes to mind. Don't be fearful of asking it.
No question is a wrong question, is it, Mel?
That's right.
Yeah, no question is a wrong question. It's
not at all.
Something that you're not happy about, then ask, and you can be put at ease.
No, never. No.
I think, and always bear in mind as well, after a storm, there's always a rainbow. And I think if you can have that in your mind, that okay, maybe things are bad at the moment, but they will get easier. And I hate to say it, but it becomes the new norm. It's not like it was. Your life won't be like it was. It will become a new norm. And you know, with the help of everybody around you, you will get through the bad days, and you will feel better, actually, because obviously if you need dialysis, you're not well, you're not right at the time. So I think you need to bear that in mind. You can follow Kidney Wales on Facebook and Twitter as well. So I think we've covered a lot, but about speaking to the unit and the team about Kidney Wales as well, because there's a lot of information around, isn't there?
Yeah, so Kidney Wales is a good place to start. Also charities, you know, your social worker would always point you in the right direction as well. And within the unit, we previously mentioned the dietitian, social worker, and psychologist. You got Kidney Wales.
They're really good. The other thing is that Kidney Wales, I know, give out face coverings, don't they? They give out free face coverings. They give out fistula bands. Yeah. And
lots of charity events going on with Kidney Wales as well. So if any of your family wants to get involved, so
you'll find all that. There's I know they do a lot of running, walking, all sorts. And even actually, if you yourself want to just do something, there's more than scope for that, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think, as we've both said, there is a lot of support out there, isn't there?
Yes, and just ask.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to use it. It's there for a reason. And believe me, it makes a big difference. You've got to remember, you're not on your own. You've now become part of a very big team, actually. Would you agree?
I agree, yeah, that's a nice way to put it, Mair.
Well, it is, and I think it's a lovely team. I've got to say, it's been invaluable to me.
Good.
Yes.